What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today we got a tier list. It's not Tuesday, it's Thursday, so the alliteration still holds, but I decided on Tuesday to drop that video going over my playoff predictions at the season ended today. Feel free to go check that out. But yeah, we are going to be tier listing every single team's number one center. Last week, we did every single team's number one defenseman because in mid-January, I begin to roll out my updated top 50 players in the entire NHL, as well as my top 20 goalies. Spoiler alert, next week will be every single team's starting goalies will be tier listing. But yeah, we're going to do every single team's number one center. How I did this was time on ice. Who is the center that is leading their team in terms of time on ice? Yes, some people might argue that this player is slightly better even though he plays slightly less. It's probably not going to change a whole tier when looking at the difference between one guy and another. So let's dive into it. We got Superstar. This is a legit like top 15, top 12 player in the entire NHL. You can probably imagine who's going to be in that range. Star, these guys are point per game, well above point per game level kind of guys, franchise centers that are around top 15 to 30, 35 in the NHL. Elite is 70 to 80 point per game, solid defensively. Good is you're probably not a legit number one center. You'd be more suited as a number two, but you could be a number one center on a team that's like a fringe playoff team, just barely gets in. And solid slash meh, you maybe have some far better wingers or you're just a bad team, and as a result, you're not a true number one center. You're not really remotely close. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. We got the Strome brothers, funny enough, the first two, because Ryan Strome is leading the Anaheim Ducks on time on ice for the centers. Dylan Strome, you got to go with elite. You could argue solely this season, he's been a star. I'm not quite ready to throw him up in star, top 35 player in the entire NHL. But yeah, he's going to have a strong case to make my top 50 players, considering the fact that he's clicking at around like 95, 100 point pace, was clicking at above a 100 point pace when he was playing with Ovechkin. But yeah, even the last 2 years, he's been consistent 60-ish, 65-ish point, two-way guy, very good playmaker. They're obviously making fun of the fact like Nicholas Backstrom 2.0. Welcome back, Nicholas Backstrom. And rightfully so, Dylan Strome has been awesome this season. Ryan Strome, it's just the circumstance that Anaheim, unfortunately, I guess Leo Carlsson, McTavish aren't playing as much as Ryan Strome, and even those guys would be in solid to mad. Ryan Strome's around a 40-ish point guy and pretty horrible defensively. He might be the worst guy that qualifies under first-line center. Bo Horvat, I'm going to throw him in good, not having the most impressive season this year. I still think that he's still a good around 60 to 70 point two-way guy. Needs to pick up his offensive point production, but Barzal did go down like immediately right out of the gate. Hopefully he can find his groove, and hopefully the Islanders can somehow crawl out of the hole that they're in right now. Some people are probably going to want him in solid slash mad, but I think when you see the other guys, you'll understand where I'm coming from. Matthews, Superstar, even though this year isn't that impressive, 69 goal scorer last season, pretty damn good defensively. Definitely still a superstar in the NHL. Sidney Crosby, the production really isn't there this year, and part of that is because the Pittsburgh Penguins are not that good of a team, especially after trading away Jake Gensel last year, but I still think that he is a top 30 player in the NHL. If you put him with far better wingers, he'd be clicking around 9,500 points. And again, last spring, he was like a top 5 player in the entire NHL the last 2 to 3 months of the season. Sebastian Aho, I'm going to go with elite. He's definitely elite, teetering on star. I kind of want to put him in star. I think I'm going to put him in star. Yeah, he last year was awesome with like 89 points. This year, a little bit slower in terms of the offensive production, but still very good defensively. He's around that 23 to 30 kind of top player in the NHL. Anze Kopitar this season has definitely been a star. I think I'm just going to put him in elite. Again, this year, he has been arguably like a top 20 player in the NHL, and I think if I revisit this come March, April, he might move up a tier. But right now, I'm going to go with elite. Awesome offensively this season, as well as defensively being as reliable as it gets. Chandler Stevenson, definitely in solid slash meh after signing that contract. The point production has been okay. I think he's clicking around like 55 point pace. The defense has been horrible, and even his 5-on-5 offense has been pretty abysmal. Just been racking it up on the power play. Alexander Barkov, if anybody didn't have him in superstar at the end of last season, the playoff run at the end of the last season really cemented himself as a superstar. Selke winner. 95 to 100 point pace guy when healthy. Mikael Granlund, I'm going to put him in good. Offensively, he's been elite production the last 2 years, around a point per game. Defensively, not quite, especially on the same level as like a Dylan Strome, Anze Kopitar. So definitely good. What he's doing on a pretty shit Sharks team, he's made the Sharks a pretty fun team, as well as him and Celebrini. Celebrini would also be in that good tier, maybe even elite. Pettersson, this is a tough one, man. Pettersson, I think I'm going to go with just elite. He has been picking up it a little bit recently, but when you look at this guy since, like January 1st of last year, the production does not match the name value. He's definitely better than, in my opinion, a Strome or a Kopitar, but as of late, he has just not really been playing to the level that we know that he's capable, especially after that 2023 season where he had 102 points. He needs to step up if Vancouver wants to be a true contender. Backlund, another case of he's just a reliable two-way guy, but nothing special, not a true number one center. And Nazem Kadri would be there as well, and any other flame center that you potentially put up there. Good player, not a number one center. Mark Scheifele, I got to respect. I got to put him in elite. He has 21 goals, 21 assists, on pace for like 45 and 45 this season, as Winnipeg Jets are a damn good team. Definitely elite. He might be cracking my top 50. Might be like lower 40s if we look at it. Joel Eriksson, the offense really hasn't been there this year. He's been dealing with some injuries. Still very, very reliable. One of the best defensive centers in the entire NHL. My doppelganger always ride for him. But again, the offense hasn't really been there to justify him being in that elite tier like some of those guys that are killing it this year. I'm still going to put Connor Bedard in this tier. I might be called a glazer, but I still think he has been playing better of late, but still, this guy just has nothing around him. Tyler Bertuzzi, Teravainen, Ryan Donato, like Kurashev. You can't expect him to put up monster kind of production with that talent around him. I still think he is an amazing player, a very good player, elite player. Jack Hughes, I'm going to put Jack Hughes in superstar. The offense has really clicked the last like 20 to 25 games, and he's also so good defensively. One of the best, arguably outside of McDavid, the best player in transition. Probably McKinnon's also better. But Jack Hughes, I think, is a top 12, top 13 player in the entire NHL. Call me crazy. Vincent Trocheck, I'm a little bit biased if I put him below a Bo Horvat, so I think I'm just going to slide him there. He's having a shit season right now, but I still think he's closer to the player that he was last year. That was around point per game. He plays with Artemi Panarin, but I still think he's a good player, but not quite elite, definitely. Pavel Zacha is the Bruins pick. He's playing more than Lindholm right now. He's like a 50-ish point guy, plays with some decent talent. The production hasn't been there. He's okay defensively, but yeah, he's definitely a second-line center on most teams that actually have serious aspirations. Nathan MacKinnon, superstar, easy pick in the lead right now for the Art Ross. Potentially might go back-to-back for the Hart Trophy. Jack Eichel, I'm going to go with star when this guy is healthy. He's around the 100-point guy, obviously shut up all the haters back in 2023 and has been very good ever since. Roope Hintz, man, it's been bad recently. Him and Jason Robertson have been bad. I still definitely got to weigh this season the most, and if that's the case, you got to put him in good. You got to put him in good, considering he's been so underwhelming. He's only putting up around like 55-point pace right now. Ryan O'Reilly, he's not a number one. He'd be a great number two center on an actual playoff team. I think I'm going to keep him in good just because he still is so good defensively, but the offensive numbers for everybody on the Nashville Predators have not been there. Robert Thomas, St. Louis is not the most exciting team, but this guy is still above a point per game right now. Very solid defensively, one of the best passers in the NHL. You definitely got to have him in elite. Sean Monahan, the way he has been playing, he definitely earns a spot in the good tier, considering him, Marchenko, and then Voronkov or Chinnikov have been just dominant for the Columbus Blue Jackets right now, and his production's been solid. You got him as a good, like definitely a low-end number one center. Columbus isn't that good of a team, but when you look at the guys below him, he's definitely clear of those guys. Sean Couturier, still solid defensively, but just hasn't been the same player since getting back from that injury. Around the 50-point solid defensive guy. Again, second-line center, maybe even a third-line center on a true contender. Tim Stützle has definitely cemented himself in star status, considering how good he's been this season. I kept on saying before the season, he's closer to the player that he was in 2023 compared to 2024. He has been exactly that. He's been by far the best player in the Ottawa Senators, who appear like they're taking that next step. Definitely a star. Braden Point, also a star player, yet again looking like he's going to be hovering around 50-ish goal pace. Absolute beast. Not some byproduct of Nikita Kucherov. He's amazing in his own right. Nick Suzuki, pretty easy elite, yet again, point per game. The defensive numbers have dropped off a little bit this season, but like everybody on Montreal has been pretty underwhelming defensively, but still around the 75 to 80-point solid defensive guy. Dylan Larkin, also elite. Kind of same thing as Suzuki, in my opinion. I think Larkin, they're basically like the same tier player. They're definitely going to be in the top 50. Tage Thompson, elite. Also in elite. We're just throwing everybody in elite at this point. Goal scoring at a pretty high rate. I think he has like 17 in 30 games, only 9 assists. But yeah, he's definitely bounced back to more so of the player that he was in 2023 3 versus 2024, and he's taken big strides defensively. And then lastly, we got Logan Cooley. I'm going to throw him in good. You could argue maybe even elite. He has 30 points in 34 games right now as that second line center. He doesn't play with Clayton Keller, but him and Dylan Gunther have been fantastic this season for the Utah Hockey Club. But yeah, here's the full tier list. I think that Jack Hughes, oh no, I forgot Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid obviously goes in superstar. I cannot believe. Let me add him real quick. That is crazy. I'm sure I'm going to have to put some text up there being like, where's McDavid? Where's McDavid? Connor McDavid in superstar. I was like, I'm forgetting someone. Who am I forgetting? Connor McDavid. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Yeah, I understand if you have Jack Hughes a tier down just because he hasn't had that superstar season, but I think he is a top 15 player in the entire NHL. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? I'll be seeing you in the next one.